Hello, everyone. Great to see you all again. For those that don't know me, my name is Shane Emerson, and I'm an environmental scientist with California State Parks Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Division. I'm here today with another video guide to show you all how to create your own CNDDB records search using the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's BIOS 6 search engine. So first things first, a quick rundown through some of our terms or abbreviations you'll hear me throwing around today. The first is CNDDB. What does that even stand for? Well, CNDDB stands for the California Natural Diversity Database. And what this is this an inventory of statuses, of the status and locations of rare plants and animals documented in California. CNDDB is maintained by California Department of Fish and Wildlife, or CDFW as I like to call them, and includes current lists of rare species occurrences across the state, as well as a database of GIS map locations for all those species occurrences. So basically, it's a giant mapped database where CDFW has recorded and collected observations of thousands of different rare plants and animals throughout the state of California. The other term I want to run you through is BIOS, which stands for Biogeographical Information and Observation System. I know that's a mouthful, that's why I say BIOS. You'll also hear me refer to it as BIOS 6. This is the sixth iteration of that system. And the difference between CNDDB and BIOS is that BIOS is the tool that we'll be using to view and run our query for the data from CNDDB. So CNDDB works in tandem with BIOS. CNDDB is the database that we'll be using, while BIOS is the tool that we'll be using to access and query and see that information from. And the last thing I wanted to go over before we start is, why do we do a CNDDB search? We do a CNDDB search because it is one of the standardized methods recommended by California Department of Fish and Wildlife for searching proposed project areas for listed and or sensitive species. It allows us to assess any potential risk factors to special status species or sensitive habitats from our proposed project activities. It also is something that we look for within our grants application process, and I'll often refer to it within these parts of your grants application. And basically, it helps you identify sensitive resources that have been documented, confirmed near where you're going to be working. And essentially is a helpful planning tool that lets you preemptively strategize your projects around known and potential sensitive resources. Right. So how do we access CNDDB or this BIOS 6 viewer or search tool? And so it's very easy. You're actually going to just open up a web browser. And what you're going to do is right here in the address bar, you're just going to type in BIOS 6. And you can do this in your search engine as well of choice. But it's usually the first option that pops up. You'll know you're at the right one when you see the California Department of Fish and Wildlife logo here at the top. And you're going to click on that hyperlink. And that's going to navigate you to the BIOS homepage. And if you're having trouble finding it through your search engine or your browser, you could always just type in this web address, this wildlife.ca.gov/data/BIOS, and that should navigate you directly to this page. And so this homepage is where we're going to be accessing our tool from. We're actually going to be accessing it from right here. This is how we open up the BIOS 6 viewer tool. So we're going to go ahead and click on this button, this link right here. And what will happen is when we click on it, it'll open up a new tab. And from that tab, you'll get a pop-up window. You go ahead and click and accept or just close out the window. And this is our tool. That should take you to our tool. And so right here on the right, we have a map. This is our interactive map that we'll be using to basically set up our project area and search that area for our CNDDB recorded occurrences. And the map's very easy to use. You can click on it, you can drag it and drop it. You can zoom in and out with this plus minus buttons right here, or you can do it with your mouse wheel. You can also change your base map layer or toggle between topographical map and an imagery-based map. I personally prefer an imagery-based map. It just makes it easier to find the project area you're dealing with. And so our first step here, now that we've kind of messed with the map a little bit, is we're going to go over here to our Contents tab, and from it we're going to click this little black down arrow, or this little black arrow, and we're going to click it down so it's facing down. and we're going to see Add BIOS Layers pop up. And we want to click on that. And that's going to pull up this menu right here, this catalog. And what we're going to do is we're going to search this catalog for CNDDB. Right? And you can either click enter or click on the search tab there. But it's going to pull up some results. And the result we're looking for is this second one right here, which is CNDDB tracked elements by quad. There are 2 CNDDB layers that we can add. We definitely want the one that's by quad. We do not want to do the one that's by county. And the reason for that is when we do these searches through from our project area, what's going to happen is if we select by county, it's going to do searches from the entire county as opposed to just the quads that are attached to our project area. And an example of this is like, say you're working in Kern County and you have like a 20-acre restoration project that you're working on. When you put in your project area into this search engine, what it's going to query back to you is all the recorded species and habitat, wildlife, plant occurrences from within the entirety of Kern County. So you're only working in a 20-acre area, yet all of a sudden it wants you to account for or it's going to pull up species from across the entire county. And that's not what we want. We want to limit our search area to those within the vicinity of it. And the quad will give you definitely a smaller search radius. And so what you're going to do is when you see CNDDB tracked elements by quad, you're going to go ahead and click that plus button. And what that's going to do is it's going to drop it over here in this BIOS layers tab. So you see it pop up over here. And you also see a little green check mark here. That's how you know that you've clicked on the right one. And so we're going to go ahead and close that out now that we don't need the catalog anymore. And we're going to go over here. And our next step is to double click on the CNDDB tracked elements by quads layer. And what that does is, oops, I accidentally triple clicked, my bad. And what'll happen is you'll see by doing that, what we've done is we've gone and made it the active layer. If you looked before, you'll see that it said none up here. When we double clicked on it, it turns blue, it check marks, and then you have it as the active layer up here written in orange. And so the other thing that you may have saw occur is all of a sudden all these quads popped up. So these are all the quads in California. And similar to what I was describing earlier, what basically happens when we map our project area here in a minute is it's going to pull up all the search results from within that quad. And that's how it runs its CNDDB search, is it groups it by quad. And so if your project area or its associated buffer touches a quad, it's going to pull up all the recorded species occurrences within that quad. And so let's get to it, I guess. Let's do our project area. So for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to be using another SVRA. We use Prairie City for the what grows here, so I think we're going to use Clay Pit for this CNDDB search. All right. And so for those of you that don't know, Clay Pit SVRA is a 220-acre SVRA. It's an open ride OHV park located in just outside the city of Oroville, California. It's a nice little park if you're ever up in the area to visit. But this is going to be our project area for the purposes of this exercise. So we want to know what species we want to account for within our project area within this SVRA. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to Tools, and we're going to click our Tools list. And that's going to drop down a couple of options, but the one we're focused on is Select by Location. And when we click on that, that's going to open up this new tab. And this is how we're going to draw our project area. And there's a few options here. I'm going to only recommend that you either use the polyline or polygon features. So the polyline is this zigzag right here, and the polygon is this this polygon shape right here. The two, I don't know what you call that, but I honestly prefer polygon. It's my favorite, but those are the two I prefer. The other one is you're just dropping a singular point, and these ones are you're dropping a square or a circle around your project area. With the polyline and polygon, you can more define what your project area looks like and trace its outlines, as opposed to these, which just give you kind of a one-stop shop kind of buffer that doesn't really account for the actual radius of your project area. And the next thing I like to also do is, so CNDDB CDFW recommends a 3 to 5 mile project buffer when you're considering a project, the species you want to account for when you're using the CNDDB tool and database. to get a good idea of and consensus of what species you're trying to plan for, they like you to apply a 3 to 5 mile buffer. Now, my preference is to go on the higher end and do 5 miles. So I like to apply 5 miles, and then I like to check on this apply buffer tab. What this is going to do is when we do finally draw our polygon, it's going to automatically apply that 5 mile buffer to it and give us search results from within that buffer region. And so next things you want to do is you want to click on either your polyline or polygon. For this exercise, we're going to draw a polygon, and we're going to draw it around the entirety of Clay Pit SVRA. Because we're going to do restoration within this OHV park. And so it's going to take up all 220 acres. And so then you drop your points, your vertices, one at a time. You just click on the map, it'll drop a point for you. And you just trace the outline of your proposed project area. And once you're done with that, you're going to double click on the last one. And when that happens, all of a sudden you're going to see this list or this this table pop up at the bottom of your screen. And what this is what it's done is it's as soon as you drop that last point and double clicked it and said, this is my project area, it went ahead and applied that buffer that we determined earlier with the 5 miles. And I'll zoom out to kind of show you that. But basically that was our project area. This is a 5 mile buffer. This purple line right here is the 5 miles. And these blue lines right here are each of the quads that our project and our buffer area hit. So it's going to be pulling in all the recorded species occurrences from within these 4 quads based on our project and our project area buffer. Now, it's not exact compared to our project area in the buffer region, but it gives us a good idea of what species are known to occur in and relative to where we were going to be working. And so what's nice is now that you have this table, you can kind of get an idea of what species you kind of need to start thinking about accounting for. Something that is of note is it does pull all the species records, so you're going to have multiples of every species that are going to pop up with your search results. As you can see, the 4 features here is in reference to the 4 quads that it searched, and then there's 150 related records. So it pulled up 150 recorded occurrences. That's not 150 species. It's 150 recorded occurrences. So we need to clean up this data, right? There's 2 ways to do that, or get printed lists that look a lot cleaner. And the first way to do that is you're going to print your list right here. And what it'll do is when you click on that printer icon at the top of your table, it's going to pull up a new tab. And I'm zooming out right now. But to give you an idea, this is the list it kind of pulls up. And it's a little messy because it doesn't really organize the data very well. And it's kind of all over the place. Your species aren't organized. And so what I like, this one's nice. If you don't have access to Excel, you can pull this out and then you can kind of go through it and lump your species together and see what kind of things you should consider prior to your project. But when I zoom back in here, what I like to do is this cloud icon with the little arrow pointing down. And basically what that's going to do, it's going to download a CSV file format, so Excel file. And what you can do is you can open that in Excel. There we go. And so what this does is it gives you an Excel breakdown of this. And so what I like to immediately do with my data is I like to turn it into a table. So I highlight all the rows and columns that I'm working with. And I go to insert and I just click on table, and my table, it comes with headers. And then I like to organize by either scientific or common name. And what's really nice about the data, it gives you quite a nice breakdown of the species that you want to consider with your project area. So it gives you their federal listing status, their California status, their CDFW status. If they're they're a plant and have a rare plant rank, they'll give it to you. And you can break it down, and this gives you an idea. So what animals we're dealing with green sturgeon. We have to consider pond turtle, tricolored blackbird, and it breaks it down by species, so you know exactly what species you're dealing with and what frequency they're kind of occurring within the project area. And so that's a nice way. This is a nice tool for that. Some last minute notes that I want to convey to you is this is on its own, should not be used as to exclude species from a project area. This also combines very well with all the other search engines that we're kind of demonstrating with these videos. So use it in compliance with those, and that whenever these tables you generate them as part of your grants application, and you're self-certifying out no potential risk factors, these are the tables and maps you kind of want to include with that with those documents. So if you're self-certifying out, otherwise you should be using these to help you build out your HMP if you don't already have one, and it should help you plan and identify the resources that you need to consider with it. So I appreciate your time. I hope you guys have a nice day and good luck out there with your projects. I hope this was helpful.